Ms. Womble, here's the next question. The business community has changed quite a bit over the last few years, and we're seeing a lot of changes and growth. There's a concern that we may lose the small town feel of Winter Park and just become an extension of the greater Orlando area. Any thoughts about the direction our business community should take?
I agree. I think that, the economy has turned around. We're stronger than ever. I heard on the radio the other day, one of the signs of a good economy is more cars on the road. But yeah, I think we have got to be very careful about our development. We are in the driver's seat. We should be more, I think we should be better negotiators with all, especially the big development, and be careful to not lose our unique charm, our city charm. We have a lot of issues, a lot of developments coming up before us. I would like to, to me, the most important thing about approving these developments is concurrency, which means traffic, parking spaces, height, density. These are all quality of life issues. Think about it. We've already, in the past year or two, we've already permitted over, I think it's over 1,000 water permits in the city. And that's, that's a lot. Our aquifers are drying up. And these are things we got, this is the next century. These are things we need to think about.
Great, thank you. Ms. Sprinkle.
I said earlier, we live in the center of 2.2 million people. And we're real close to Orlando. We're closer than Apopka or Winter Garden or Ocoee. So our city, right here, Winter Park, that we all love just like it is and don't want anything to change, has changed. Now, I have lived here longer than all the other commissioners. I have lived here for 42 years, and I can see how this city used to look. I remember when I went to the library, that was just a little building over here. Okay, so I've been here a long time, and I know it has to change. That's life. It's going to change. But can we protect this area? And we have, and we are. Now, we can tell you that with that many people around us, we're a kind of product of our success. People come to see us because they want to be here. People come here because they like to be where things are going on. And so that's part of what we're seeing and what we're feeling. And at the same time, I, just like you, don't want the things that look like Dr. Phillips to come into our community. I was down there yesterday, and I met some people down there, and I thought, boy, am I glad I live in Winter Park. And I say that all the time. Boy, am I glad I live in Winter Park. And you, like me, have people all the time who come to see you and say, that's a great city. I want to live there.
Thank you. You're up next. Excuse me. A question that we have here is, what actions would you take to ensure the continued high occupancy rates along the Park Avenue corridor?
Well, luckily, we haven't had to take those actions. We're at 100%. We were dipped down to 97, didn't we? And then we got right back up because basically we are, since I took office, it was 77%, and now it's at 100%. I'd like to take all the credit for that, but I really can't. We got lots of other people who can, and Patrick's one of them, and what he's done with the chamber. It's a great place to be. People want to be in Winter Park. They want to be on our streets. We've taken some actions that we've been asked to take, and we will continue to do that, but do we need to go out and start interfering between the landlords and the tenants? No. Okay? What's happening now is we've got 100% occupancy. I'm not sure how you improve on that. In my math class, you didn't. Okay?
Great, thank you. Ms. Womble.
Can you read the question again?
Okay, let me find it. I better make sure I keep these all on the top here. What actions would you take to ensure the continued high occupancy rates along the Park Avenue corridor?
Okay, I think probably one thing that I would like to see on Park Avenue is cleaner sidewalks and a cleaner area. If you ever go to Palm Beach and look at their sidewalks compared to downtown, that's something I would be very much supportive of. Doing a better job of cleaning our sidewalks. I think I'm also very supportive of the independent business owners. They're our trademark downtown. that's what makes us, that's what differentiates us from the mall. So I think they're very important. We need to keep a communication and a partnership with all of them. I've worked on Park Avenue, and I understand the equation of how they work. The little stores have their own unique merchandise. They do not, they have it's understood that if you have a product, another store doesn't carry the same thing. I like that. And I think the rent's way too high, but we can't do anything about that unless we, try to do like New York, and then that would turn into a disaster.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
You're ready for the next question? Okay. With the recent relocation of the Capen House, historic preservation has surfaced again as an issue. And this individual is interested in seeing perhaps the historic designation should be rather difficult to obtain, but then once you have it, almost impossible to revoke. What are your thoughts about that approach to historic preservation, or any other thoughts in terms of the city's role?
I think that sounds kind of radical. I don't think it should be too difficult. I think, in fact, I think it's a very simple thing. And I think visually, we see all the historic architecture around town. There's another property near me that y'all are just going to go ballistic when you find out about this. It could very well come down. I just would like to upgrade our historic ordinance. I'm an advocate of historic preservation. I'd like to take care of that ordinance, do it now instead of letting it linger and linger. Since last June, the city asked, the commission hired a consultant to do a study of our historic preservation, and he came back with an indictment on how poor our historic preservation is. I'd like to see that upgraded and discussed at the city commission meeting and pull in the community and come to a conclusion on this, because I think it's a very important part of our town.
Great, thank you. Ms. Sprinkle.
Actually, what happened last June was the commission asked the historical board to go back and work on this and bring it back to us. That is how we work. And they did. And they came back and they said, we need some help. Will you authorize some money for us to hire some other people to come in and talk to us? And we said, yes, we will. Because we asked them to do a lot. We gave them a lot of questions. Every one of us, 5-0, said, we agree historical preservation is important. We agree we need to beef that up. We agree that we need to incentivize people to go for historical preservation. So we are working on that. One of the things you learn at the table and at the dais is that things do not happen that quickly. But they do happen better when you have lots and lots of input. Now, I can see that I would never do away with your right to vote. Your right to decide what it is that you want for your house, what it is that you want for whatever you are there for. So I will never never support doing away with your right to vote. So that's very important, because that's one of the things that this gentleman decided would be a good idea. So we can't do that. That's not democratic. We just said we're coming to the library for democracy. So there's a lot of things that they have to consider. And I'm glad they are, because it'll come back to us and we'll make some decisions. It's in process. It may not be as fast as you want it, but it's going to happen. The sky is not falling and Chicken Little is not here.
Thank you. Okay. You ready for the next one?
I am.
Okay. Will the neighborhood matching grant program be reinstated with Keep Winter Park Beautiful?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a great question. It sounds like something that we might be able to look into. I'm not sure. We have looked into all of those things that we had to put aside when funds came up. When we had the question earlier about money, we're right now facing this at least $1 million a year addition to our budget to take care of the road trees. We know that, okay? So I'm not sure where it's going to come from. It's got to come from somewhere. We know that that's important. Now, I'm not sure about that. I really haven't had anybody bring it to me yet, so I can't answer it.
Okay, great. Ms. Wobble, any thoughts on that?
Okay, read it back again. The neighborhood matching grant?
Yes, ma'am. Reinstated with Keep Winter Park Beautiful.
I think that's a great idea. I'd like to explore that. I don't know the answer either. I do want to say, though, that one thing that I would like to see us do is to upgrade our board appointees so that we can qualify as a certified level of government. And that way we can get grants. If we follow the CLG program, we can get state grants for different projects. I guess I'll stay up.
Okay. Well, that leads right into the next question I have here, was that the citizens concerned about Winter Park losing its certified local government status. And if that is true, then what are the financial implications to the city, and would you be interested in having that reinstated?
I'd like to have that reinstated. I mean, it's just a simple thing, it's a housekeeping thing. We need to upgrade our boards and have more qualified individuals serve on specific boards and residents, and I'm very much in favor of CLG, again, because we'll get grant money through that program. It's a state program.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkle?
We have a pretty good group of people in City Hall that are always looking for grants and always finding money, and they've been very successful in bringing them in. So when there's a grant, if there's something that we need to do to make those changes, they bring that to us and we'll make those changes. So one doesn't necessarily equal the other. So you have to work on that. Our processes we have in place are good, but they always can be improved. So I know we've got city people here taking notes, and they'll probably take that note down and see what we might need to do to bring that back.
Thank you. Okay, the next question relates to eminent domain and that process and the role that the city plays. And should that be used for only public projects, or should that also involve transferring that property to private interests to move forward with whatever the project is doing?
We have had not one eminent domain case in my 3 years on the commission, and I don't expect we're going to. Eminent domain is used very, very seldom and very, very specifically. So I am not thinking that eminent domain cases are going to come up. I'm not looking for that. We have had none. And although we follow the rules and the law, that's not something that's been a big issue for us.
Great, thank you. Ms. Marble, any thoughts about the city's role in eminent domain?
I'd like to defer my answer to Judge Sprinkle. I agree with Sarah. I don't know of any eminent domain issues coming up before the city, so.
Okay, great.
I'll
Thank
stay
you.
up.
Okay. The next question relates to transportation. A lot has been happening here in the community. Earlier this week, you had the ribbon cutting for the Sunrail station, and that will be here May 1st. Right outside the library, if you walked in, you saw that you can now use your library card to check out a bicycle. So there are a lot of different options. So do you have any thoughts about how the city can continue to meet the future transportation needs of its citizens and visitors?
That's a great question. You know, I really have been so impressed with Keep Winter Park Beautiful / sustainability program, because they are bringing in all of these very interesting components to transportation. And I think this is something that we have got to really focus on, alternative transportation. I'd like to see more money set aside for more bike lanes and pedestrian walkways. We could always upgrade that. You know, they're putting the bike share here at the library. They're going to have it also have it at the commuter rail. One thing that I think would do well in Winter Park, there's a system downtown called O-Carts, and what they do is it's a private transportation. They take you throughout. And I would be interested in studying the O-Carts program, because we have a lot of residents that live here that really our links cannot service, because links is a regional transportation, and I would like to perhaps study things like that.
Great, thank you.
I had answered that.
I'm sorry.
Transportation is really interesting, because that's one of our elements that we always have to look at, and we always know that we can't just talk about transportation right here in Winter Park. We are part of this big region and this big area. So what's happening right now is We've got plans together, and we're hoping when the rail comes in that they're going to work. I hope so, just like you do, and I know these are better minds than mine that are looking at them. And they have a plan for how the buses are going to go and how people are going to get on them. So we're looking at all of that. As far as transportation and how much people drive, I don't know about you, but I always look for the opportunities to walk when I can. So public transportation in this community and in this city, much less this state, has never been all that effective. I'm delighted the rail is coming through because the rail is going to give us an opportunity to commute. And that's what it's going to do. I don't know how successful it's going to be, but I'm going to get on it, okay? You know that old saying from Yogi Berra, if you don't know where you're going to get somewhere else? Well, I'll tell you, I'm not sure where we're going, but I may get somewhere else. But I want to ride the rail. I can't wait to see what happens with it. At the same time, as a commuter, it won't help me with my office. I work full-time. It's one of the things that I think is very important for your commissioners to be a part of the real world and work. And it doesn't go where I work, so I won't be able to take that for my commute. But many people can. I'm looking forward to commuter rail.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, Ms. Sprinkle, the next question. There are, as you know, there are several citizen advisory boards made up of citizen volunteers. How would you encourage Winter Park residents to become involved by serving on one of these boards?
Great question. We have 20 boards, 130 people, 2 who do not live in the city of Winter Park. So it is not a rampant problem that we have someone who doesn't live in the city of Winter Park. In fact, Rodney Kincaid, whom I saw this morning, is one of those people who is an icon in this community, has done so much in this community. It's just amazing. And I told him that if I had the chance, I was going to call him out today and say, we want you to stay on this board because he has an expertise that's so important. Now, you can go online and you can apply to be a part of a board. I think you have to apply every year. The mayor appoints those folks, and I'm delighted that we have so many people who want to be a part of this process. The board process in the city of Winter Park has been lifted up and gotten much more important because I can tell you I depend on the boards. I depend on the boards greatly because you have a chance to get more information, so when it comes to me, a lot of that information is already established for me. So our board process works. I like it. Come on down and be a part of it.
Thank you. Ms. Womack.
Read the question again, please.
Oh, about transportation.
No, boards.
The boards, I'm sorry.
You're
I
fine.
went back too far. There are several city advisory boards made up of citizen volunteers. How would you encourage residents and citizens to become active on those boards?
Okay, great question. I've seen where residents were overlooked for people that were non-residents of the city, and I don't like that. In fact, it was the Historic Preservation Advisory Board is very dysfunctional, and one member just stepped down who lives in Orlando and is married to a land use attorney. So my idea is that we have got such a wealth of talent in the city. And so our board should be made up of residents only. And I support that, and I think that we need to get back to that practice. I admire most of our board members, but I do think there is an issue with this, and I think that we need to change that.
Okay. Next question. I know both of you have been actively on the campaign trail the last several weeks. Are there any issues or any topics that you've heard as you've talked to other citizens that have not been raised today?
Traffic, and traffic. I've heard a lot of different issues. It's been fun going out and speaking to everybody in the community and listening to their stories and the things that concern them. But probably the biggest complaint from people is traffic. And I think that we need to do more traffic studies. We have not done that in quite some time. And those are important to our quality of life. It's just getting back to the basics again and carrying out things like that add to our community.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkle.
The number one question I get when I knock on somebody's door is, when am I going to get my utilities undergrounded? That is the number one question. So now I've gotten smarter, and before I go walk a neighborhood, I find out that answer so I can tell them when I'm there, okay? Because I usually come back, find the answer, and call them. So people want to know that because we made a commitment when we bought that electric company that we were going to put our wires underground. Now, it was a 25-year commitment. And it takes a long time. And we've got a very specific process to get that done. I was just talking to Jerry Warren today. We have a very smart gentleman who runs that company. And I will tell you that he said, you know, Sarah, we've almost got it where people are going to be able to go online and find this out. So he's working on that. He knows, just like I do, the importance of people being able to get their own information. So that's one thing I hear. I hear that everywhere I go. I will tell you that my feeling from walking around this community is we're doing really well. First of all, the houses look good. The yards look good. People are doing well. Now, not everybody, and those are the sad cases, and I find that out. I was at a lady's house the other day who's lived in that house for 61 years. Can you imagine? She told me she came there when her child was just born, 2 months old. So it's an interesting thing to do, but it does keep you in touch with what is happening in the real world.
Okay, great. We're down to our last question before the closing statements. For the next 3 years as commissioner, what would be the 3 issues you think you'll need to be addressing or tackling and you personally would like to jump in and deal with?
The 3 issues. What I would tell you is that I'm an educator. Many of you already know that. So education always rises to the top in my world. And so I believe that the more you know, that knowledge is power. The more you know about what we do, the better off you are, the better off I am. So we will continue to make that happen. Clarissa does a great job with that. We can always do more. You get something like 30 different periodicals that we send out from the city right now, but we can always do more. So that's one thing, so that you can go online and find out answers. That's one of my goals. My other goal, and I'm a very goal-oriented person, is that when you go online or you ask us a question, that it all fits together. That you know this is the goal of the city, this is how we measure it, and this is how we decide whether or not we're successful. And that comes a lot from education and planning, but it also tells you that that's how you know that those people you elect are doing what they said they were going to do. That's one of the things I've always wanted to do. The other thing is I absolutely know we have to maintain our fiscal responsibility. That is the reason we can come up here and talk about what we can do for you, because we're a fiscally sound community, and that's always our number one goal.
Thank you. Ms. Wobble.
That's a good question. I think I agree with the fiscally responsible. We need to stay very focused on that and not, waste money on pet projects like the rebranding of Park Avenue, which cost $90,000. Does anybody remember the tagline for that 2 years ago? I don't either. But the other things that I would be interested in is seeing more public participation and more workshops that involve the community, that involve the stakeholders who live here. I think that's key. I think also the environment, transportation is going to be a big issue over the years, and alternative transportation is something very important to me. Our tree canopy, I think we need to protect that. And I just think we need to protect our sense of charm and community character here. There you go.
Great, thank you. Well, before our closing statements, Ms. Wobble, you'll go first, and then followed by Ms. Sprinkle. I'm sure all of us would like to know how we could reach you if we have some other burning questions we need to ask you before Tuesday. So if you have a website, your cell phone, your address, whatever you'd like to share with us in terms of how we can reach you.
Okay. Actually, I think everybody knows where I live. I'm the light lady, and I started the Lights on Old England. But I'm also in the phone book. You can call me anytime, not after 10 or before 8 in the morning. But anyway, I want to say a couple things. I think it's been really interesting running for City Commission. And personally have really enjoyed it and meeting people. Why am I running? Because I will be your independent vote. There are 5 people on the commission. 3 of them vote together. I will be the independent vote and make the best decisions for all of us. I think there's many issues coming before us that are very significant development, the minor league baseball, and I think we all need to participate in this and be a member of the team that makes these decisions. I think we're a city of homes and trees. Everybody knows my record on that, so those are 2 things that are very important to me. And it would be an honor to serve as your commissioner. It really would. And I think the very last thing I want to say is, I hope after this race is over that we can all shake hands and quit focusing on our differences, because you know what? We're all here together. We all live here. We're all neighbors. We're residents of Winter Park, and I think it's time we sit down and just talk to each other and be good neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sprinkle, before your closing remarks, how can we reach you?
Well, we have a website, and Cynthia back here, who's been helping me with the campaign, has our cards. You can always call me, 407-247-1912. It's my cell phone, and that's the only way you'll ever find me. So anyway, please call if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. All right, my closing is very simple. When I started, I told you about the DEAR program. I said, what's dear to me is dear to you, okay? I know I am just like you. What I have learned on the commission is if I have a question, you have that same question. And so I ask it, and I do that because that's what I've learned. My education is probably what I will always put down as what I have done in this world. I want to be known for being an educator. It's what I am. It's my very heart. The A is accountability. I am highly accountable, okay? Certainly, that is part of what you have right now. Highly accountable people who are accountable to you because we are spending your money, and we know it. And my R word is the word that I'm going to call resolve. I like the word resolve because resolve can be used 2 ways. I like resolving issues. I'm one of those people that was a middle child, and I was always the peacemaker, okay? And I resolved all the issues between the big ones and the little ones. And right now, we have a lot of things we resolve at the table. I also like resolve because it tells you a little bit about me and my character. I have a great deal of resolve. I have a great deal of will. Anybody who thinks I'm not independent, just ask my husband, okay? He will tell you how highly independent I am. So there's no one out there that could say anything but how independent I am. And resolve also talks about courage. It takes a lot of courage to run for office. It really does. It takes even more to run for office the second time. So I've been honored to serve you. I would love to serve you for 3 more years. I appreciate your support and hope you'll vote for me on March 11th.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking both the candidates. And also thank you for being here, and that concludes our program.
Thank you.
Yes.